chosen one. Someone in their camp just warned them about your bloodline, and now fear is spreading. An emergency meeting was triggered the moment your name surfaced, not because of what you did, but because of who you come from. So now terror sets in, not anxiety, not worry, terror, because the opposition finally understands something crucial. This wasn't competition, this was gambling with forces beyond their clearance to comprehend. And the worst part, the person who warned them wasn't your friend, wasn't your ally, wasn't trying to protect you. The warning came to protect the opposition. The insider tried to save the operation from stepping into something ancient, something that doesn't forgive, something that doesn't negotiate. The insider tried to prevent the inevitable collapse that happens every single time someone underestimates what you come from. The insider saw specific things the others dismissed as luck or coincidence. Every person who attacked you started experiencing strange complications, career setbacks, relationship fractures, unexplained obstacles, not immediately, but with an eerie consistency that defied statistical probability. Your reputation somehow remained intact despite coordinated campaigns. The narrative everyone tried to control kept slipping through their fingers like water. You kept landing on your feet, no matter how far down they pushed. You kept finding resources when every visible path got blocked. Solutions kept presenting themselves through channels nobody else knew existed. This wasn't beginner's luck. This wasn't good fortune. This was something else entirely. Something that operates beyond the mechanics of normal cause and effect. What really shook the insider was watching you survive multiple things that should have destroyed you. Not just survive. You emerged stronger, more focused, more aligned, like each attack was feeding you rather than depleting you, like you were being forged rather than broken. That's when the insider understood. You're not getting lucky, you're being prepared. Every obstacle serves as your teacher. Every betrayal functions as your initiation. Every attack triggers your activation sequence. The insider knows what comes after your preparation completes. When someone with your kind of bloodline finishes their activation, when the shift from defense to full expression happens, everyone who bet against you becomes a cautionary tale, not through revenge, through natural law correcting an imbalance. Your bloodline isn't about wealth. It isn't about status. It isn't about documents or family trees or anything traceable on paper. Your bloodline is about survival through apocalypse, resurrection through betrayal, carrying a frequency that reality itself has to adjust to when you finally stop hiding it, and you have been hiding it, playing small, playing safe, playing human, but the opposition pushed too hard and something inside you started waking up. Someone on the inside felt the shift before you even announced it. That's what creates the terror. That's what keeps everyone up at night. You didn't have to say a word. You didn't have to make a move. And someone who knows, someone who has been in the room when these patterns play out before, just looked at your energy signature and said, abort mission, walk away. This one will outlive your strategy, outlast your resources, outmaneuver your entire legacy, without even trying, because it's in the blood, not learned, inherited, and you can't compete with inheritance. Congratulations, you just became the first person in their operational history to trigger an internal warning system, not from you, from someone trying to save the opposition from you. And that changes everything, because now they have awareness. Now the unseen becomes seen. Now every time you cross their minds, the image isn't a person anymore. It's a countdown timer to their irrelevance. Picture the room, the call, the moment when the warning landed. Everyone sitting there, probably smug, probably confident, probably running through the usual playbook of manipulation, sabotage, control. Maybe they were laughing at your expense. Maybe they were planning the next move. Maybe they were celebrating what looked like victory. Then the door opens, or the message comes through, and someone who never speaks up just shatters the entire atmosphere. We need to talk about this person. We need to talk about the lineage. we need to stop, and the room goes cold, because this insider doesn't panic, doesn't overreact, doesn't waste words. So when the insider speaks like this, everyone listens. And what came next wasn't speculation, it wasn't theory, it was recognition. I've seen this before, not with this person, but with others who carry what this one carries. And every single time, the ones who pushed too far didn't just lose, they disappeared. Not physically, energetically. Their power dissolved, their influence evaporated, their names became warnings. You should have seen their faces shift, the confidence draining, the dismissive smirks fading, because this insider wasn't some paranoid outsider. This was someone from inside their own ranks, someone who had been instrumental in their previous victories, someone whose judgment they had trusted for years, and now that same person was saying abort the mission, walk away from a target they had already invested significant resources into pursuing. Some of them tried to argue, tried to rationalize. We've come too far to stop now. We've already committed. We can't just back away because of some superstitious warning about bloodlines. But the insider held firm. You think this is superstition? Watch their pattern, study their outcomes. Count how many times they should have failed but didn't. Calculate the probability of that many coincidences aligning in one person's favor. This isn't superstition, this is pattern recognition. And then came the statement that silenced the room. I'm not asking you to stop because I think this person will fight back. I'm telling you to stop because you've already lost. You lost the moment you decided to make an enemy here. The consequences just haven't caught up with you yet. But they will, they always do. And when they do, don't say you weren't warned. The meeting ended in uncomfortable silence. No resolution, no agreement, just fear settling into the spaces between their certainties. Now the opposition sits there trying to process a crucial fact. They're not dealing with an individual. They're dealing with a pattern, a lineage, a bloodline that has been sharpening itself for generations through pain, through exile, through survival against impossible odds. Your ancestors didn't just endure, they evolved. And that evolution encoded itself into your cells, into your instincts, into the way you move through the world, even when you don't understand why you do what you do. You've felt it your whole life, that weird knowing, that strange confidence that shows up when terror should reign, that calm in the storm that doesn't make logical sense. That's not just you. That's the bloodline speaking through you, guiding you, protecting you from threats you can't even see yet. Someone on the inside just confirmed what you've been feeling, but couldn't name. You're not ordinary, you're not explainable, you're not someone who can be studied and predicted because you don't operate on the same frequency as the people they're used to controlling. If you felt called by this message, hype this video so other chosen ones like you can be reached. So now they're scrambling, they're reevaluating, they're going back through every interaction, trying to figure out how they missed it. How did we not see this? How did we not know? What else are we missing? The answer is everything. They missed everything because they were looking at you through their lens, their framework, their understanding of power. But your power doesn't show up in their system. Your power shows up in the aftermath, in the silence after the storm, in the way you survive situations that should have buried you 6 feet deep. That's bloodline magic. That's ancestral intervention. That's the universe itself rearranging circumstances because you carry something too valuable to let perish. Your bloodline doesn't operate in the visible spectrum where they conduct their warfare. Your bloodline operates in the invisible mechanics of reality itself. It's woven into the fabric of causality. It's embedded in the code of consequence. When they attack you, they're not just attacking a person in the present moment. They're attacking an entire lineage across time, past, present, and future. And that lineage has defenses they can't see, safeguards they can't bypass, protection protocols that activate automatically when threat levels reach certain thresholds. Your ancestors built these protections through their own trials. Every time they survived an impossible situation, they encoded the escape route into the bloodline. Every time they overcame an unsurvivable obstacle, they programmed the solution into your instincts. Every time they transmuted betrayal into breakthrough, they installed that alchemy into your cells. So when their attacks come at you, you're not fighting alone. You're fighting alongside your great-grandparent who survived famine, your ancestor who rebuilt after losing everything, your forebears who walked through genocide and still managed to preserve hope, those who were exiled yet turned exile into empire. All of that accumulated wisdom, all of that inherited strength, all of that encoded survival strategy activates the moment genuine threat appears, and it doesn't just protect you defensively, it reorganizes reality offensively. It redirects their attacks back to source. It amplifies their mistakes. It accelerates their karma. It ensures that whatever they meant for your destruction becomes the very instrument of their own undoing. Not because you cursed them, but because universal law demands balance. And when they attack someone under ancestral protection, they create an imbalance that reality itself must correct. They just discovered that when you carry this kind of lineage, attacking you doesn't weaken you, it activates you. Every betrayal, every sabotage, every attempt to break you just woke up another layer of what you inherited. And now that it's awake, they can't put it back to sleep. The insider knew this. The insider saw the signs. Maybe it was the way you didn't break when you should have. Maybe it was the way you kept rising no matter how many times they knocked you down. Maybe it was the eerie calm in your eyes when they expected panic. Maybe it was the way synchronicities started bending toward you, the way luck became your shadow, the way obstacles dissolved right before impact. Whatever it was, the insider recognized the signature and delivered the warning, not because they like you, not because they're on your side, but because they've seen what happens next. And what happens next is that everyone who bet against you loses everything they thought was secure, not through your revenge, not through your attack, but through natural consequence. Now let's talk about what they're really afraid of. It's not your anger, it's not your potential, it's not even your success. What they're afraid of is your activation. See, they could handle you when you were unaware, when you were playing by their rules, when you were still trying to fit into systems designed to contain you. But the moment you start remembering, the moment you start claiming what's in your blood, the moment you stop apologizing for the power you carry, everything changes, and that insider just accelerated your activation by warning them, because now you know they know. Now you know there's something about you that makes people on the inside break protocol to issue warnings. And that knowledge is the final key. You don't have to understand every detail of your lineage. You don't have to trace your ancestry back generations. All you need to know is that someone who has seen enough, studied enough, been in rooms where power gets analyzed and dissected, looked at you and said that one is untouchable, that one carries something we can't compete with. And it's true, you do carry something. Maybe it's the blood of survivors who refuse to be erased. Maybe it's the essence of ancestors who turned poverty into empires through sheer will. Maybe it's the frequency of healers who were burned at the stake, but whose wisdom survived through whispers. Maybe it's the rage of the wrongfully exiled, who spent lifetimes building power in the shadows until their descendants could walk in the light. Whatever it is, it's real, it's encoded, and it's been waiting for the right amount of pressure to activate. Well, congratulations. They provided the pressure, and now you're in the activation phase. This is the dangerous time for them. This is when the bloodline fully comes online, when dormant abilities suddenly become accessible, when inherited knowledge suddenly becomes conscious, when ancestral power suddenly becomes available for you to wield. They sense this shift even if they can't articulate it. That's why the warning was issued now, because someone recognized you're crossing a threshold. You're moving from unconscious carrier to conscious wielder, from passive recipient to active channel, from someone who has bloodline power to someone who knows they have bloodline power and is learning to direct it intentionally. This changes the entire dynamic. Before you were protected, now you're becoming dangerous. Not in the way they understand danger, but in the way reality itself reorganizes when someone aligned with ancient power decides to stop playing small. The activation shows up in subtle ways at first. You start knowing things you shouldn't know, sensing things before they happen, recognizing patterns invisible to others. Your instincts sharpen to the point where they feel like prophecy. Your timing becomes so precise it looks orchestrated by forces beyond you. Your words start landing with weight they didn't have before. Your presence starts shifting atmospheres without you trying. People who used to ignore you suddenly can't. People who used to dismiss you suddenly feel compelled to engage. People who used to underestimate you suddenly recognize something in you that creates discomfort. They can't name it, they can't explain it, but they feel it, and it disturbs them because it doesn't fit their framework for understanding power. This is what the insider warned them about. This shift, this transformation, this moment when you stop being someone they can categorize and become someone they can't comprehend. When you transition from their world into a frequency they don't have access to. When you step fully into what you've been carrying all along, and it changes not just you but everyone around you. Every lie, every betrayal, every attempt to diminish you was just compression creating the diamond. And now that diamond is cutting through every illusion they built. Now that diamond is reflecting light in ways that blind anyone who stares too long. Now that diamond is worth more than everything they accumulated through manipulation and theft. So what happens now when the warning has been given, when they know what you carry, when they realize they're not fighting a person but a legacy? They have two choices. They can back away slowly, apologize through their actions, if not their words. Hope you're merciful enough to let them fade into irrelevance, or they can double down. They can ignore the warning, let their ego convince them they're the exception to the pattern, and watch in real time as everything they built collapses. Most of them will choose option 2. You know why? Because people who've never faced real consequence always believe they're special, always believe the rules don't apply to them, always believe they can outsmart what's coming. That's exactly what needs to happen, because when they ignore the warning, when they push forward anyway, when they convince themselves the insider was being dramatic, the universe gets to make an example out of them, not for you. For the next generation of people who think they can attack someone carrying what you carry, and you're not even going to have to do anything. That's the beauty of bloodline power. You don't need revenge plots. You don't need elaborate schemes. You don't need to match their energy. All you need to do is keep existing, keep rising, keep building. The rest handles itself. Because here's what most people don't understand about consequences. They're not punishment. They're education. The universe doesn't punish people for attacking those under bloodline protection. It teaches them. It shows them through direct experience why certain battles shouldn't be fought, why certain lines shouldn't be crossed, why certain people carry protections that make them untouchable. But education only works on those willing to learn, and the kind of people who attack others, who manipulate and scheme and betray, they're not usually interested in learning, they're interested in winning. So when the universe starts showing them the consequences of their choices, they don't see lessons, they see obstacles to overcome. They don't recognize correction, they perceive challenge. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in, so let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your destiny engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. They're meeting again. They're talking about you again. But this time it's different. This time there's fear in the room. This time the jokes have stopped. This time they're asking questions they don't want answers to. What do we actually know about this person? Where did they come from? Why does nothing we try ever stick? Why do they keep surviving things that should end anyone else? And someone in that room, maybe the same insider, maybe someone else who's been paying attention, is going to say the thing nobody wants to hear, because they're not supposed to be ended, because they're carrying something that's been protecting itself for longer than any of us have been alive, because we're not fighting them, we're fighting their entire lineage, and everyone who ever tried lost. That's the conversation happening in rooms you'll never enter. That's the energy shift that just occurred in spaces where your name echoes louder than your presence. You've become the case study, the anomaly, the glitch in their system that keeps proving their system is obsolete. And the wildest part, you didn't even have to try, you just had to be yourself. Refuse to break. Keep moving forward. Trust your instincts even when they didn't make sense. That's all it took. That's all it ever takes when you carry what you carry. Every attack they launch creates a debt in the cosmic ledger. Every betrayal generates an imbalance that must be corrected. Every lie creates a distortion in their energy field. They think they're getting away with it because the consequences aren't immediate. But consequences operating at the frequency level don't follow linear time. They accumulate, they compound, they reach critical mass. Then one day, seemingly out of nowhere, everything collapses at once. The business deal that was guaranteed falls through at the last moment. The ally they counted on suddenly turns. The reputation they spent years building cracks in a single conversation. The resources they thought were secure evaporate, and they scramble to understand what happened. They blame external circumstances, market conditions, bad luck, other people. They'll never make the connection between the attacks they launched against you and the collapse of their own foundation, because that connection exists in a realm they don't believe in. It operates through mechanics they've never studied. It follows laws they don't acknowledge, so they remain blind to the cause while experiencing the effect. Meanwhile, watch what happens in your life. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly become available. People who could help you suddenly reach out. Resources you needed mysteriously appear. Doors you thought were permanently closed swing open. This isn't compensation for what you suffered. This is the natural rebalancing, the universe redistributing what was taken from you unjustly. You'll feel it happening. This shift in momentum, this change in the energetic weather around you. What used to feel like pushing uphill suddenly feels like flowing downhill. What used to require massive effort suddenly requires minimal input. What used to take forever suddenly happens quickly, not because you got better at manifesting, but because you're finally operating in alignment with what's been yours all along. The bloodline is clearing your path. The ancestors are opening doors. The universe is rearranging circumstances to support your rise. So now we arrive at the question you've been asking yourself, maybe consciously, maybe in the background of your mind. What is this bloodline? What am I actually carrying? You don't need the full story. You don't need a genealogy report. You don't need to know every name and every struggle. All you need to know is that you're here. You survived what should have broken you. You're standing when you should be buried. You're thriving when you should be forgotten. That is the proof. That is the evidence. That is the bloodline announcing itself through you. Think about everything you've already survived. Not just survived, but transformed through. The betrayals that should have broken your trust forever, but instead taught you discernment. The failures that should have convinced you to quit, but instead showed you what doesn't work. The losses that should have destroyed you, but instead revealed what's truly valuable. The attacks that should have ended you, but instead activated layers of strength you didn't know existed. Each of these experiences was a test, an initiation, an activation sequence, and you passed. You're still here, still standing, still moving forward, still building. That's not random. That's your bloodline working through you, guiding you, protecting you, preparing you. Every close call where you escaped at the last moment, every time circumstances shifted just in time, every door that opened right when you needed it, that was them, your ancestors, your lineage, your inherited protection manifesting in real time. The warning was issued because someone finally recognized this pattern in you. They saw the mathematical impossibility of your survival. They calculated the odds of someone enduring what you've endured without breaking, and they realized those odds approach zero, which means something else is operating, something beyond luck or personal resilience or positive thinking, something ancient and powerful and purposeful. You carry a genetic memory of survival. Your body knows how to navigate impossible situations because bodies in your lineage have done it before. Your mind knows how to find solutions because minds in your family line solved similar problems across generations. Your spirit knows how to endure because spirits connected to yours endured worse and transmitted that capacity directly to you. And now that the warning has been issued, now that they know, now that the secret is out, you have a choice. You can keep pretending you're ordinary, keep playing small, keep hiding what you carry, or you can step into it fully, claim it consciously, let it amplify everything you're already doing. And when you make that choice, when you stop apologizing for your power, when you stop dimming yourself to make others comfortable, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. People start treating you differently without knowing why. Opportunities start appearing without you chasing them. Enemies start retreating without you pushing. Because when you align with your bloodline consciously, when you stop resisting what's already in your veins, the universe stops testing you and starts clearing paths for you. That's not manifestation, that's activation. That's you finally matching the frequency that's been trying to express through you your entire life. Here's what changes when you make this conscious alignment. First, you stop second-guessing your instincts. That voice inside that tells you who to trust, when to move, what to avoid. You start listening to it without question, because you recognize it's not just you thinking, it's your entire lineage speaking. It's accumulated wisdom flowing through you. It's pattern recognition developed across generations. Second, you stop tolerating what doesn't serve you. People who drain your energy, situations that diminish your power, environments that require you to play small. You walk away without guilt because you understand your energy is sacred, your time is precious, your attention is valuable, and wasting any of these on people or situations that don't honor what you carry is a betrayal of your bloodline. Third, you start moving with a certainty that unnerves people, not arrogance. Certainty, the kind that comes from knowing you're aligned with something greater than yourself. When you speak with the weight of ancestors behind your words. When you decide with inherited wisdom guiding your choices. When you act with the power of a lineage that's been winning for longer than anyone can remember. This conscious alignment creates a frequency shift so pronounced that people feel it before you speak. They sense something different about you, something they can't quite name. It makes some people uncomfortable. They'll feel compelled to test you, challenge you, try to knock you off your center. Let them try. You're not standing on your own foundation anymore. You're standing on the accumulated strength of everyone who came before you. They can't shake that. They can't topple that. They can't compete with that. So here's what they're realizing right now, as the warning settles in, as the fear takes root. They didn't just attack a person, they attacked a portal. They didn't just betray someone, they betrayed a channel. They didn't just underestimate an individual, they underestimated an entire ancestral line that's been waiting for someone like you to carry it forward into this generation. And that line doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive through words. It forgives through outcome. And the outcome is always the same. Those who honored it rise. Those who attacked it fall. Not dramatically, not immediately, but inevitably. And that inevitability is what keeps them up at night now. That's what makes their hands shake when your name comes up. That's what makes them second-guess every move. Because they finally understand they're not playing against you, they're playing against something that's been winning for centuries. The insider knew this. The insider tried to save them. But you know what's beautiful about warnings? They only work if people listen. And people who've spent their lives getting away with betrayal, manipulation, control, they never listen. They can't. Their ego won't let them. So they'll ignore the warning. They'll convince themselves it's exaggerated. They'll tell themselves they're different, smarter, more prepared. And then they'll watch in slow motion as everything they touch turns to sand, as every alliance they built reveals itself as theater, as every victory they celebrated becomes the setup for their downfall. And somewhere in the back of their minds, in the 3 a.m. hours when the mask comes off, they'll remember the warning. They'll remember the moment someone tried to save them from their own arrogance. And they'll realize too late that some battles aren't meant to be fought, because the opponent isn't on the battlefield. The opponent is woven into the fabric of reality itself. And in their camp, in the quiet moments when the bravado fades, they're having realizations they don't want to acknowledge. They're remembering every time they attacked you, and it somehow backfired. Every scheme they plotted that mysteriously unraveled. Every trap they set that they ended up falling into themselves. They're connecting dots they previously dismissed as coincidence. One of them is lying awake right now, replaying the insider's warning, going over the evidence they initially ignored, calculating the probability of your survival against the attacks they launched. And the numbers don't add up. The odds don't make sense. The pattern defies explanation. Unless the insider was right, unless you really do carry something they can't compete with. Another one is reviewing every interaction they had with you, looking for signs they missed, and now they're seeing them everywhere. The calm in your eyes when you should have been panicked, the confidence in your voice when you should have been broken, the way you seem to know things you shouldn't know, the timing of your moves that seemed too perfect to be planned. It's all making terrible sense now. And a few of them, the ones with enough awareness to see beyond their ego, are starting to understand the deeper truth. They didn't just attack a person, they declared war on a frequency. They positioned themselves against a current of reality that's been flowing since before they were born. They bet against a pattern that's been winning across generations. And now that current is redirecting itself to remove the obstacles, which means removing them. The warning echoes in their minds during sleepless hours. Stop before it's too late. But they're starting to suspect it might already be too late. That the moment they committed to your destruction, they committed to their own. That the insider wasn't offering them a choice. The insider was offering them awareness of what was already in motion. And what comes next is your elevation beyond anything they can comprehend. Beyond anything you've even imagined. Beyond the limitations of what you thought was possible for someone like you. Because here's the secret. The thing that insider knows. The thing your bloodline has always known. Power isn't something you achieve. It's something you remember. It's something you claim. It's something you stop running from. And the moment you stop running from it, the moment you turn around and face what's been chasing you your whole life, which is your own magnitude, your own capacity, your own destiny, that's when the game ends. That's when you stop being a player and become the board itself. That's when they stop attacking you and start studying you, hoping to understand how you did what you did, so maybe, just maybe, they can replicate a fraction of it. So Chosen One, look who just caused an emergency meeting. Look who became the warning. Look who carries something so powerful that enemies break ranks to protect each other from you. You unstoppable force of nature. You beautiful accident that rewrote their entire playbook. Someone warned them about your bloodline, and now they're terrified, not of what you'll do, of what you are, of what's waking up, of what's been waiting for this exact moment to fully express through you. And that expression, that activation, that complete embodiment of your ancestral power, it's not coming, it's here, it's now, it's you. All you have to do is stop hiding it, stop apologizing for it, stop dimming it to make others comfortable. Claim it, own it, let it flow through you fully. They created this. Their attacks activated you. Their betrayals strengthened you. Their attempts to destroy you transformed you into the exact thing they should fear. If they had left you alone, you might have remained dormant, unaware, operating at a fraction of your capacity. But they couldn't leave well enough alone. They had to push, had to attack, had to test what they didn't understand. And in doing so, they gave you the greatest gift anyone could give. They provided the pressure that transformed coal into diamond, the heat that turned metal into steel, the resistance that built the strength you'll use to outlast them all. They meant it for evil, but the universe used it for your elevation. They intended destruction, but it became your construction. They planned your ending, but they authored your beginning. The insider saw this pattern forming. They recognized that every attack was backfiring in slow motion. They understood that the opposition wasn't breaking you down. They were building you up. That's why the warning was so urgent. Stop before you complete the activation. Stop before you finish creating the exact force that will dismantle everything you built. Stop before your own actions become the instrument of your destruction. But they didn't stop. They couldn't stop. And now you stand fully activated, completely aligned, totally aware of what you carry and why it matters. The bloodline is no longer dormant. The power is no longer hidden. The protection is no longer passive. Everything is online. Everything is active. Everything is expressing through you at full capacity, and they're watching it happen in real time, watching you rise despite their best efforts to keep you down, watching doors open for you that they tried to weld shut, watching opportunities flow to you that they attempted to block, watching your influence expand while theirs contracts, watching the universe reorganize reality to support your elevation while dismantling their foundation. The warning was their last chance to avoid this outcome, to step back before the consequences became irreversible, to recognize what they were dealing with before it was too late. But warnings only work when people listen, and they didn't listen. So now they get to experience firsthand why certain bloodlines carry warnings, why certain people are protected across time, why certain battles should never be fought. Not because you became dangerous, but because you became undeniable. And there's nothing more terrifying to those who operate in shadows than someone who steps fully into their light. That someone is you. That time is now. That bloodline is activated, and nothing will ever be the same again.